And so today, Karan and I are actually doing something really interesting. One of Karan's friends is building a botanical luxury skincare brand, I think, right? And they have shared a deck with us. And this is somebody who's really experienced in the skincare beauty industry. I think he was the director of Himalaya, if I'm not
Correct.
wrong.
Yeah, Ravi Prasad. Yeah, he was the MD of Himalaya, and this brand is called Almora Botanica. Ravi was part of Himalaya, I think, from the very beginning. I
Wow.
just found an article in 2012 where he was the executive chairman. 12. Yeah, but he's
How
been in that industry
interesting.
for a long time.
Yeah. And I guess like it's post Himalaya that he decided that he wants to build this company.
Correct. I don't really know the background too well.
Okay.
I think, yeah. So we maybe,
Good for us. Good for us.
yeah,
But basically, like it is a more international luxury skincare brand and it is focused on Ayurvedic products. I think that's
yeah.
all I know about it.
Yeah, I think what we know is that, right, Ravi has this big background at Himalaya. He helped grow that business from being small in the early 2000s to kind of being this, on the same caliber as like L'Oreal and some of these big brands.
Hmm.
So they decided with this brand that they wanted to do something that was clean, natural skincare, which has really been a focus for a lot of skincare brands in the last few years.
Hmm.
And I think, as Ravi was kind of explaining to me, that some of what we expect from our products is at odds with being natural, right? So apparently, the scooping creams, like the ones that you would take out kind of like this, right? Like those have products for the stabilizing of them that couldn't be considered natural. And so that's why, for example, Almora's products are labeled 99.4% natural because that 0.6% is coming from the stabilizing
Oh,
products.
honestly, more earnest than like a lot of, oh, this is an all natural brand or whatever.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I
Okay.
did a little bit of research about Himalaya just now. Yeah, it's named itself to be Himalaya in 2002, but there's a 2002 article quoting Ravi as president and CEO.
Interesting. Okay. So I'm excited. Let's
I'm
get to
excited
it.
too. Shall we get to it? Yeah.
Yes. You know what I find very interesting, and this was my thought on the website as well, that their images are racially ambiguous.
Yeah.
Like this could be a Hispanic woman, but she could also be a brown woman, but she could also be a white woman.
But when you consider that they launched in, I believe, the UK and France first, and then in the EU, and then in Dubai, and then Singapore, and now the US, like it kind of makes sense, right? Like those are the people that you find in those places. Especially you think about like Dubai or something. I feel like it's a lot of like people who kind of look like this. Where you're like, you could be
Yeah.
from anywhere in the world, and you probably are.
Yeah. But it is very interesting for a brand, right? Because like generally, I think at least till the last decade, there was a lot of racial purity that one would see in like a lot of brand imagery.
So
Like,
like if it was a brand made in America for Americans, it was very white, you mean, kind of situation?
or even like a lot of the beauty brands tended to be more Eurocentric,
Hmm. Or Asian,
right?
I feel, right? Like very
Asian
Asian?
brands, Asian brands
I
tended to
see.
be like, Asian, but like everywhere else, they tended to be more Eurocentric. Like even brands which were maybe more from the Middle East or something like that, they would also have more European features rather than like, more Middle Eastern features. It's just interesting that like this one doesn't. I also feel like it's the compositionally, this is a very good image. Like just the color and the composition is really, really beautiful. The fact that like the gua sha stones on her face are the same color as the background behind her,
Hmm.
amazingly well done.
And I feel having that beauty where it'd be just a little bit bigger, even though they're like normally having three different font treatments for three different words would be very questionable. This actually seems to work. Like it's so subtle that you don't feel like it's standing out at you. Like I don't think I realized it was three different treatments the first few times I saw it. It's only now that I'm really staring at it. I'm like, oh yeah. But it just kind of emphasizes without overpowering.
Yeah. I also find it interesting that like there's a certain sense of maturity to this deck. Like
Hmm.
almost everything else we have seen feels like it's aspiring to be mature.
Interesting.
Like, at least to me, this feels a little more on the side of this is polished. This is like, weirdly feels like it is done by people you can trust.
Do you feel like the logo comes into that? You have a lot more experience with logos than I do.
Somewhat. I am I'm curious to know why they chose this. Like, this is much more, at least from like my experience, this is much more like a Korean beauty brand aesthetic kind of logo rather than like a European beauty brand or a beauty brand that is targeting Gen Z.
Because like the O and the A are exactly the same circle, and like the M, like there's so much symmetry. Is like the M is exactly symmetrical, and like is that part of what makes you say that?
No, so like part of it is the geometric nature of the font itself, but part
Yeah.
of it is just like this is a very neutral font, right?
Hmm.
Like in the sense that it's not particularly swirly, it's not particularly trying to evoke old. Like, it doesn't look like a tech company font, it doesn't look like a beauty company font. It's a font that you wouldn't associate it with any specific kinds of brands. Doesn't look like a health or cleanliness or like natural oriented brand either. And like
So
a
I
yeah.
actually have the products. I have four of them that Ravi gifted me when he was here in New York. And it's really interesting because I feel like they're so light that it's almost like it's like sometimes when you use a moisturizer, you can really tell that like, oh, your skin feels really different. And in this case, I would say I feel like I can my skin doesn't just it doesn't like feel like it's asking for my attention. Sometimes where I'm like, oh, like sometimes I'm like, oh, and like this part of my hand is dry. Like I really should moisturize it when I get a minute. Right? I'm just like cognizant of it in the back of my mind. And I feel like when I've been using their facial products, I just feel like my skin is just like recedes a little bit as a concern. Like I'm just like, oh, it feels great. It looks great. Like it
Mhm.
just, and I think if that with that context, right? Like the brand kind of feels like that, right? Like it's kind of a receipt. Like it's like I'm not gonna be a big deal. Just gonna do a
Hmm.
thing.
Yeah, 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 very true. It's also like a lot of and that's why I made the comparison to the Korean products because Korean beauty products also tend to be lighter.
Yeah.
Like, they tend to be a lot more easier on your skin. Their makeup tends to be a lot more softer. Everything about it tends to just like go less heavy on your skin. And like they use this kind of branding as well. Not exactly this, but like the vibes are similar, is how I'm gonna put it. Like Dior or L'Oreal is much more heavy-handed, right?
Both in product and in branding.
Yeah. And those are also good products, but like they just stand out a lot more.
Yeah. What's interesting that we don't feel like it's weird the water is green? Like until now, where I've started to think about it, I'm like, it is kind of unusual that water is green. But like,
Hmm. I think that's also what, like, in a very interesting way, that's what visual coherence does, right? Like,
yeah,
it's one of those things where, like, colors are always in relationship to one another. So here they basically have just two tones. There's a brown, which is also very light, but in her shirt, in her hair, in her hands, right? Like her skin tone is similar beige brown kind of. They're all like that similar tone, which is a very natural tone, right? It's very warm, it's inviting, that kind of color. And then you have the green in the background with some dark highlights, like, sorry, some dark shadow areas. And
yeah,
that's about it. Still, just those two things also sit so nicely together.
yeah. Like the background is entirely from like the blue to yellow spectrum of green with very little anything else. And then, yeah, she's basically all in the shades of brown. Yeah, with the white as a highlight. It is very nice.
Yeah. So I would say that like they're able to, even from this, like just a singular image, it feels like it's a mature brand. I can't say anything other than that. Like, it feels like it's a really mature brand, and a lot of thinking has gone into what does this need to feel like.
Wow.
How do you feel about it?
I mean, I feel like I would often find myself asking, why am I here? On my second slide. And I feel like this has told us why we're here, right? It's giving you a quick little summary of like, what should you be interested in? It is assuming that you are wanting to look at this. But I think, again, as we've talked about in the past, that that's usually a fair assumption, right? Like if someone is opening up your deck, in this case, I think this is going to be an investor deck as we kind of go through it, right? Like if you have some capital you can bank on, some interest capital, and I think that this much kind of information, it doesn't feel overwhelming. And it feels a little bit like I don't need to pay attention to all of these words. Like, there's certain keywords that I can like pick out and like kind of skim the rest of it. So it's something that you and I talked about actually in game dialogue design a long time ago that really stuck with me, that like it's really hard to kind of make information feel at the right level to the person. Like there was a time I was writing dialogue and it felt like it was all important, but it wasn't. And I think here they've done a good job of being clear. Like I know all of this information is going to come back in later in the presentation. It just feels very clear about that. But it's giving me a little high level of what we're going to be talking about.
So the only thing that I would say is like the first page was very human. And in a very weird way, for me, it's a whiplash because this page isn't particularly human. Like, see, that was also very polished and very clean. But like, there is a certain humanness to it, but the copy doesn't have that humanness at all. Like, the copy
Interesting.
feels to me a little bit glass boxed almost. Like, I can see it, but I can't touch it.
No, it's deliberately done that way, right? Like I think it is zoomed out to give a different facet. Like there's this very like, lady with her what'd you say it again? Gusha?
Gua sha, yeah.
Guasha, right? With her guasha stones. And it's like that's to give you this feel of like, yes, this is accessible, this is light, this is like almost fun, right? Like I'm doing it in the outdoors. And then here it's like, oh no, wait, we're science backed. We have a lot of information, we have content behind us. We know what we're doing, right? Like that is what this to me is about. To be like, no, we're not just flying by the seat of our pants. We're not just like another direct to consumer brand. Like this is a brand that has a lot of historical knowledge from it, right? Like this scientific information and wisdom, and then also it's referencing that this is a industry standard that they are not only aware of but are reflecting in their product already.
Okay.
I guess I could say I don't think there's a language shift, which is maybe a little unexpected, right? Commitment to sustainability and transparency, high performance skincare and wellness products, discerning global consumer. It is a how should I put it? It is language that keeps you a little bit at a distance, right? It's
Yeah.
not language that's really inviting you in. So I think I do understand what you're saying there.
But I do agree that like just having the opening statement as like this is what we are, this is what we do, these are the things that we care about. It's correct. Okay, this is how I would put it. It's correct informationally and maybe narrative flow wise, but doesn't hit emotionally right for me.
Do you feel like that would be softened from having other elements more, or just softening the presentation of these elements?
I think softening the language would have really helped.
Yeah.
Like I think the problem is like I don't know what to remember from this. So I would maybe just take away a sense of the brand, which
Hmm.
is fine, but like maybe I wanna remember something.
Yeah, strangely, I wonder if like actually going more towards like bullets or like somehow highlighting kind of key parts of the information might actually be softer, whereas usually that is a little bit more of a harsh presentation, if you will.
Or like showing why you care about it.
Yeah.
Something like that. Okay, let's move on. Okay. So this is their why now slide.
Yeah, I'm having so much trouble reading this.
Yeah.
That first sentence is so hard for me to. Our consumers are interestingly interested,
Increasingly.
increasingly interested in the interconnection between the mind, body, health, and wellness, nature, and the self. Woof. Okay. Coming into contact with fewer chemicals, staying healthy, and taking a holistic approach to health, wellness, and beauty is a growing trend, particularly after COVID. Interesting complementary medicine and natural. I feel
I
like
mean,
if you're gonna say these things, I would use data, because like there is data for them.
I would also not put two super talky slides one after the other.
Yeah,
So you have given me a lot of buzzwords. And while you're presenting that, like this is your hypothesis for why now there is increasing trend. Okay, actually, like let's move next. What does it say? Okay, this is
Okay.
just uh,
This is helping us meet Ravi. Like, because Ravi is, like a figure in the business. So understanding that he's
a
behind it
trusted
is,
person. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Wow, we're diving in deep. Okay. Okay, so this is both giving us market information on the left over here, as well as information about the value of a particular facet of their approach. I think a main facet, but just to be clear,
Yeah.
it's like, why have we taken this submarket? And it's explaining both the size of the market and the value to the user, I guess. Yeah.
So you know what is interesting? Both of us have emotionally checked out,
Hmm.
right? Like it's page 5. We were really drawn in page 1.
Yeah.
Right? Like this is I that image still is very evocative. Like I still feel connected when I see this slide, but everything afterwards, I feel less and less connected to the brand.
Yeah. Woof.
Yeah. And I feel like maybe this is the kind of deck that you just send. But even in that case, I feel like,
I feel I've lost my grounding a little bit, right? Like, I don't know
yeah,
what we're talking about.
yeah, it feels a little bit like I'm being bombarded by a lot of different things, and they're not threaded in a narrative fashion. You need to know why right now. Then you need to know what is the market size. Then you need to know why people are choosing our product or our market approach. And then, like, these are the things that make our product special. And it's like, it's too done, 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 done. And the interesting thing is, like, it's a 38-page deck.
Yeah.
And we're on page 7. And there has been so much heavy content. And these are not just like there is a lot of writing, everything is very cognitively expensive.
Yeah. So we kind of got introduced to the concept of what the brand was, then the founder, then why be natural, and then into what Ayurveda, like their background in Ayurveda, and now
And
we're
also the
getting.
COVID part that
I'm
the
sorry.
market
Also
is.
the COVID part, and then now we're kind of talking about an overview of everything, which is not unfortunately a playback of what we've heard so far. I think a lot of this is new things, except for they're mentioning Ayurveda again.
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep carrying. We're
If you
back to
just
talking
go
about Ayurveda.
if you
Yeah.
just go one slide back. No, not this one. The one with many options. No, no, no. Slide 8. Yeah. I feel like if there are 5 categories of what makes it special and there are 3 to 4 items in each one of those categories, I'm not going to remember any of them. You kind of have to. So, like, it feels like their thesis is a lot of people care about natural products and we are covering all the bases.
Yeah, it actually feels like there's not that many ideas on here, right? Like, I think what it's really saying is we have good formulations across a couple of different places, right? Like, all four of these are really about their formulations. Even this potentially is about their formulations,
Hmm.
right? And then, and this. And then they're saying that and this, and this. And then they're saying that we have good stuff for the environment, right? Like, they have this did something else about the environment. And then I
Hmm.
think they're saying that they guide you in how to do it, right? Like they have this face yoga, they have these spas, they have guidance.
Hmm.
So, like, I think those are the main ideas, right? Are we have really strong, we have great formulations, they feel really nice, they're good for the, like, they're sustainable, good for the world. And then also that we're going to handhold you in getting on board with this brand and understanding how to best, like, use it with your. It's interesting there's not a big personalized push here because I feel like I see that a lot in other places. Like they're trying to sell we have it right for you without being personalized, which is just an interesting choice.
I would also say that, like, at least for me, this would have been a much stronger slide if they just doubled down on the fact that they have great formulation, removed everything else. So, like, it could be
Mm.
that it is this much natural, that's backed by science, that there is patents on it and fewer ingredients for maximum result. Like, just these 3 or 4 points would have really, really become much stronger than having like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. God, some like 20
Like
points.
16. Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if there was a way earlier on to introduce a like a thread line, right? Like maybe there's some personal story or something that like can start with COVID and introduce us to Ravi, talk about why natural products have been the answer, how that's come out of Ayurveda and it's integrated, and then really kind of now it dive deeper, but you have some sort of thread line. Go ahead.
You know what is interesting? They do not
Yeah.
ask what is the problem. They're presenting a lot of solution, 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 but there is no problem articulation.
Huh. Yeah, the only thing I think there was that today's discerning consumer requires something. Where was it? Uh, yeah, it's implied that today's consumer requires high performance skincare and wellness products that they aren't able to find. Like that's the kind of
Yeah.
thing that, yeah, that they're saying and kind of reinforcing a little bit here.
Huh, but like the problem statement is almost assumed to be
Yeah.
understood, but it's like it's not necessary that people understand it, right? So, like when I come to this slide, I still haven't bought into the idea that this is special or this needs to be special or that I care about this brand.
Well, I think I'm going to push back on you slightly there, Divya, because I think that you and I spend a lot of time in industries where you're not stealing market share from a direct competitor, but you're stealing market share from a different way of doing it. And I think that this industry is one where you're much more likely to be stealing market share from a competitor.
Still haven't made the case for it as much though.
Well, I was going to say something maybe slightly different, which I feel like I used to not wash my face with a cleanser at all because I just thought they didn't work for me because I always used cream based cleansers. And then this is a gel based cleanser and it does work for my skin, right? My skin doesn't super dry out with it. And so it's almost like they've brought me to using a product I never used before. But I
Yeah,
just
but
don't know how
that's
big of I'm a small part of the market, right? I'm sure the
and
vast majority of the
also
market is using a product and they're switching to this.
and also that's a retention problem, but that's not a trial. Like, how do I get you to try my product? It has to evoke something. And the problem is my problem is they're using all the right words, but they're not evoking as many feelings as those many words should. Their cover image did. Like, their cover image felt like it was natural and it was clean and it was green and it was like, I want what she's having. But like I haven't felt the desire. I agree that like, beauty industry functions differently from tech, but beauty industry is way more desire based.
Yeah. Here's a good example for your point actually. So I went to a facial last month and I bought this like cream she recommended me as a night cream and I have not opened it, right? It's been a month or more. It's literally still in its plastic. But Ravi, at the dinner we were having, he took out the oil, opened it, and he put a little bit on my hand and was like, "Feel this." And I was like, "Wow, it's like literally the lightest oil I've ever felt." And I was like, "I have to try it, right?" Or so I did still forget, like I still didn't do it for a few days, but when he asked me about it like 3 or 4 days later, I was like, "Oh yeah, that did feel really nice. I want to try it." Right? So there was something that created the desire, and in this case it was literally touching the product. But otherwise I wouldn't have actually it would be like the cream I bought, like some freaking $150 just sitting in my cabinet. I just have not gotten around to opening the box. So I do think there's some truth to what you're saying, right? Like that experience of touching the oil is not here in this deck. That experience of
Yeah.
like wanting the product has not happened yet. And I do think that's important even when it's an investor deck, right? Like especially when you're in a consumer business, you're in consumer brand, and they are going to trust that other people want the product, right? Especially if you are not 100% certain that your investors actually use the product themselves, and oftentimes they won't, right? So you got to be able to help them see that there is a desire for this product and see if you're not going to do it from data and ideally do it from both, but like have a narrative that will also support that story. People want this product.
Yeah. So, like, if they were leaning into the cognitive part of the story, where there is, like, let's say that uh, L'Oreal used to have X amount of share, and now that share is going to like, these XYZ brands which are more nature oriented, and like, just showing what sort of split is that or something like that. Because now we are like 8 pages out of 38, we are like 25% in. If I was feeling emotional desire for the brand or product, or I would associate that emotion with it, I would have done it by now.
You'd have done what by now?
I would have associated some emotion. Right now,
Mm.
it's a blank slate. And like in all my learnings or branding and whatever, like honestly, blank slate is worse than a negative reaction.
Oh, because people can project whatever they want onto it.
No, because you don't want apathy is worse than hate. Hate
Oh,
means
I
they will
see.
still remember you. Apathy or indifference is like I don't know, a lot of times this is a sidetrack, but like a lot of times when people are publishing new stuff or something like that, they get very worried. What if nobody likes it? The biggest problem or what hurts is not what if nobody likes it, but what if nobody sees this? Like
Mm.
apathy is a much bigger problem. And same thing, right? Like if your product is on the shelf, somebody has to pick it up. What is going to make them pick it up? And how are you creating that sense of desire? And that's where, like, so what I said in the second slide, that like the story doesn't feel as connected.
Mm.
Image feels very connected, but the story doesn't. And like as we have seen more and more words, the words feel more and more disconnected.
Mm. I wonder a little bit if part of that is just we have been so much more in this attention economy and spent so much more of our working time in attention economy than people who started working like a decade or two before us. And I wonder how much that like just
I mean, I hear you on the attention economy part, but like, do you really think that these era Mad Men style advertising people would think that story doesn't matter?
hmm. Okay, fine. Because I
No, I
do. I mean,
mean,
I feel like this is the key thing, right? And it maybe is just this 99.4% natural, and it might be because I see that on the product. I also heard Ravi say that a couple of times, so I have this reinforcement from all these different places that this is the most important thing.
but
Is that
we
enough to
also
carry a
see it,
story?
and also we just see it on the eighth page.
You're right.
It
I
didn't
only know about
appear.
it because yeah.
You have the product, you've used the product. See, like, I think this is a big problem with a lot of good products. Retention is great, but how do you increase the funnel,
Yeah.
right? Because, like, regardless of how good your retention is, there's going to be some drop off. So, how are you reaching newer and newer people? And what is the efficacy of that reach, right? Like, I get it. This is not going to be a product for everyone because this is not a product.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I mean, it's something that we've talked about with this deal I've been working on for Tomboy X, that yes, we have a core market, which is queer women, but both we need to be able to double down on that market. So give them more products to buy and help them understand where they can engage with the brand in more ways, right? And for us, that's meant like rolling out a t-shirt program and stuff that's going to be really targeted at the core audience. But then also having a story for adjacent audiences, right? So like, what about sporty women or people who might be interested in our kind of underwear, but maybe are not part of that kind of core base? Having those products is also just really helpful, but also having the story for them, like the story needs to be, the story is what brings them in. Like you're saying, I think the product quality is what retains them, but the story is what brings them in and helps them see this is right for me.
Also, like another thing, a very easy small test that I often find for messaging. Can I think of somebody in my life who would want this? Or can I think of a kind of person who would want this? And I can't. Like, would I recommend this to anyone? I don't know who to recommend it to. Even though you've told me that it's a really nice product and it's really light on your skin, the best oil that you have, I don't know who to recommend it to. All good product
Hmm.
stories, I know who I should recommend it to. Even for, let's say, Tomboy X, I have never used their products, right? But like, I know it's like a queer run brand, and you can get products which are for all bodies. And there is a story there. Like, I haven't bought their underwear, I don't know the quality, I've only seen them online, but I can
Yeah.
tell that, like, oh, here is how I would talk about it. Because you really want your story to be simplified enough that people who don't know anything about the technicalities of your product can still speak about it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, the size diversity is such a thing that's easy to tell about Tomboy, right? We go from like triple extra small all the way to XL, and it just means that like almost any person can find a shape that fits them. And I think that that's so easy to talk about even when you haven't even owned the product, like you're saying. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is a good point.
Especially especially because any of these like consumable products, you do want people to talk about it. Because let's say that, you know, I have a bottle out there. If somebody asks, "Oh, how is this cream?" You should have somebody who says a really strong emotional story behind it. And that
Mm,
story is not going to be, "Oh, it's 99% natural." Like, that's not going to be the story, regardless of how amazing that fact as a scientific achievement is.
yeah. No, it'll be what I told you, right? Like it was the lightest thing I had touched, and that is like made me feel so happy about it. And that is there. It's just not as center, right? I think that's see in the bottom of the second to the left column, right? They're saying that there's this cream.
10x lighter, 2x
Yeah.
faster.
Okay, let's go on. We have a lot of slides.
Let's do it.
Okay. So we're talking about
So
Ayurveda.
now we are like basically going into the central philosophy,
Yeah, was this
Ayurveda.
one of the columns? No. I thought maybe we were going down one of all the five columns. Anyway, okay, no. Okay, how did we choose ingredients? None of these ingredients mean anything to me.
I mean, tamarind seed maybe means something.
That's true. I guess I kind of know what a mulberry is.
And I know
Also, I
what
think
if.
that's not the root. That's the mulberry itself, but
Yeah.
no issue.
And I know what sunflower is, I guess.
Yeah.
And Deodar cedar wood also,
I
I
guess
guess.
both of these slides, I would just ask the question of like, what am I supposed to take away? Right? Like, I think these are about establishing trust, right? So maybe like, can we establish trust at different levels? So some is the presentation, some is the way that the language, but then also you can give more data to kind of establish trust. And maybe that would mean like talking about what you're using them for or like why Ayurveda, right? Like for people who are not as familiar on this previous slide.
I
Okay.
really like the product branding.
Yeah.
Like, this looks lovely.
It's somehow really accessible and not overwhelming. Like my other facial products feel a lot more overwhelming, and this just doesn't. Like it's like, oh yeah, I can just pump it a little bit. Even though I never used like a dropper before for my oil, I'm like, oh, I can figure this out. It just was not scary.
Yeah, yeah. It seems very simple, clean, and it feels like it has its own visual language. It doesn't look like other things on the market.
Mm,
I mean, sure, there will be like some commonalities here and there, but like I can tell that it's a premium product just by looking at it. But at the same time, like, not really. I don't feel like, oh, it's an inaccessible product, which is so hard to do. It's like, yeah, again, it's so interesting. Their branding and packaging is so on point. So I'm just surprised by the gap in communication.
yeah. It's interesting that the two slides that have really stopped us have been the visuals. The ones that like
Hmm.
have been this slide and the other one, and it hasn't been the content so much yet. It's been like having a couple of really compelling visuals on these slides that have been really effective.
Yeah. Okay. We
Scientists.
see that the team is doing research.
This is not like I don't feel this is a bad slide. Interestingly, like some of the previous slides, I've been like really like, do you really need this? This seems okay, right? Like
Yeah.
it's kind of
Yeah.
cool to see that you guys have a real research team. Again, I
I
don't
also,
feel like these are possibly stock images. Like somehow these really definitely feel like your research team.
I also feel like
Could be the product in the image. Yeah, go ahead.
the product could be in the image, but I also just generally feel like this feels honest.
Hmm.
Like, this is probably the most, apart from Ravi's slide, this feels the most trust building slide till now.
And honestly, this feels trust building without even knowing who they are. With the
Hmm.
previous slide about Ravi, I think you had to have some sense of who he was for that to be trust building because it didn't really establish him. It assumed that you understood who he was in the industry,
Yeah.
which is fair. I mean, honestly, he is he's been in the industry for so long. But yeah, I just think it's interesting that this slide is managing to establish that trust without having to like label the people.
Hmm.
Okay, I see.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah,
So
this I feel like I'm actually glad that they have this
yeah, me
because
too.
they have mentioned that multiple times. So this gives me an idea of like, what is it and why is it special?
And it feels like the right level of detail for it, right? Like
Hmm.
it's talking about, it's talking about some things that it does at a layer that feels understandable, right? Like I could maybe remember it is hydration. I definitely would remember it's 10x lighter than other oils, and you've told me that a couple of times already. And then I
And
like
also
that
that
this
like it's a
here,
blend of seven oils. Like, that kind of stuff is also
right? You're telling me
understandable,
how you're
memorable.
choosing it, right? It's not like, oh, we do voodoo, you know? Like we have a way that we're actually getting this product to work.
Hmm.
Okay, this is very cool. I'm into this side.
Hmm.
Do we want to say anything about the graphic here? It's fine. Like I don't think it's
It's
doing
fine.
much, but yeah.
Yeah. First time I liked the content.
First time I like the content. Maybe second time, but yeah. Okay, what's happening here? You're explaining to us what CMOS means, I think.
Cosmos.
Cosmos. So let me see the next one. Okay, here. Oh, we can. It's still about the same thing. Do you want to see the next
Okay.
one? If you're ready, I can go. Yeah.
Maybe we can move on.
Gold standard of. Okay, so this is what I understood from Ravi when I. Is that going to come up? No. When we spoke in person, that what this also means is that the products in there are all in a seed bank. So the plants being used could never go extinct because they are
Hmm.
stored in a seed bank. And I felt like that was really compelling, and I remembered it well enough to tell you right now. And I don't feel like that is so much clear here.
Feel like, honestly, so these slides, the previous to this one, they don't feel emotionally misplaced because whatever I trusted or didn't trust the brand, like I'm just seeing what your science is, and I get it. Maybe I don't know what is green chemistry, maybe I don't know what is like what use of stem cell have you done in the
Yeah,
formulation, but I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, you guys have done something. It seems like you have patents, you have certifications, seems
yeah,
fine. Right,
yeah,
like this just feels like proof of work kind of slides. Like I'll probably gloss over them, I wouldn't really read them, I'd be like, huh, yeah, 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 they have something, that kind of a
yeah.
thing.
I think you're right. This one, I wonder if it could be somehow better. Like, for some reason, it doesn't give the same feelings as the previous science slide.
Because the visual language changed. They put two desaturated images. They shouldn't have done
Right?
that.
This
No,
one
this
is also
one,
decent. They just kept the saturation in the people.
yeah, correct. And even
Very
there, like,
curious choice.
yeah,
Maybe they were visually very bright, but you see, even here they kept the red. How interesting. This is a questionable choice. I think I would rethink these images.
yeah,
All right. So this kind of jump makes me really wish I had had some sort of contextual
understanding.
grounding, like just contextual ground, like whether it meant that you're putting chapter slides in the middle or you're giving me some sort of like table of contents or something. Wow. Okay, here we are. That's fine, but I didn't expect this. This is kind of cool. I don't know if this is a typical thing with skincare
I
brands, but
don't
I've never
like
seen it
the
before.
visual organization of things here. Why is yoga therapy like in a second line misplaced? That Almora is not aligned. Like, I don't like that at all.
And it's unfortunate because what looked so classy and nice before kind of looks plasticky, right?
Hmm.
These Almora gua sha things.
There'll definitely be stones, so that's even sadder because I'm sure they are. Gua sha is generally a stone.
Yeah.
So like it's even sadder that they have. Honestly, I would have also like made the map bigger or something like.
Yeah, this doesn't actually do anything. I think having this as the main image would have been really nice. And then maybe like doing a much better quality picture of the stone. Who cares if they're branded, frankly, right? Like I don't think you need to highlight the branding as much as you need like a really beautiful photo of those stones, like on top of something or
I would also imagine that like they have already established that this green is their green.
yeah.
Like I already get it that like this is their color, so I don't even know if they needed this.
And something you and I have just talked about is like, how many times do we need to say the name of the company when we're deep into a deck? And it's like, here we're saying the name of the company 4 different times on this page, which is fine, right? But it just makes you wonder, is there a better use of that space, right? Like, could
Hmm.
we be conveying more information or maybe just spreading out content a little bit more? Because these are different ideas, enhancing blood flow, providing essential nutrients, skin right? These are all just different ideas.
Yeah.
And just helping us understand where they sit would be nice, I think,
I also think
in
that like
relation
there
to
is a
each other.
temptation oftentimes to sort of like try to do a lot and try to say a lot because we think that like convincing or trust building happens because of information, but it often doesn't,
Yeah.
right? Like, so for example, boost skin cell regeneration, lifting, toning, sculpting, and delaying formation of spots and wrinkles. It's fine, but like if it said something on the other hand, which is like, what does it feel like to have this? To like more youthful skin, supple skin, or something like that. Like, what is the word that you want to be using here that gives me a sense of the after state?
Hmm.
Like, it's a very information dense deck. Yeah. We are only halfway through. We are not even halfway through.
Let's keep going. Okay. What is the Nagoya protocol? I saw that earlier somewhere, but we didn't explain it. Oh, Guardians of Genetic Resources receive. Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Something.
Something. Yeah, what
Okay,
was
so
the
now
point of
this
this
is
slide? Sorry, just before we go on. So this is just because we've been talking about manufacturing. We briefly talked about the yoga and then we went back to talking about manufacturing. Just so I'm
the
clear,
impact,
right?
not
Impact of
manufacturing
manufacturing.
necessarily. I would have actually like pushed the impact
Sorry
slide
if I just
before
spelled
the
wrong.
yoga slide.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That's what I was getting at. I feel like that is more this is more closely tied to these than it is tied to the yoga slide. The yoga slide now just feels very random.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay. Okay.
This
So
is
this is
a
where we sit.
competitor analysis.
Yeah, I see. So you're telling us we have the advanced science of Lamar, but we have the naturalness of some of these brands.
Hmm.
I see. Oh,
Okay. Cool. It helps one place,
wow.
which is
This
also
this is in detail. What is the difference between a V and an X?
V is check, maybe.
Huh. But then
So,
this
like,
one is green without being a V.
yeah, that seems like a little bit of an error because
Maybe,
if you
yeah,
just
it's
see
just typo.
Almora Botanica has all checks.
V's, yeah. Okay. Well, maybe you're right. It's literally meant to be a check. Like, it's just because a V kind of looks like a check. Oh, I see. This. Okay, so now we're getting into the products.
Okay. I get this.
Okay,
Like, the
I can
product looks
remember.
good,
There's a
looks
visual, two
classy.
different visual identities, which is nice, and they're very clear that they belong with each other. They reinforce while still standing out.
Hmm. Prevent and
Okay.
preserve, restore and repair, like both. It's very clear that there is two product stories here. Um,
Yeah. And it's also, this language helps me understand who they're for, right? So this is
yeah,
more for when, before you have issues, and this is like when you have stuff that you're trying to address.
yeah, and even like the prevent and preserve, restore and repair thing also
Yeah.
does that, right? Like, oh, maybe prevent and preserve is something you give to somebody in their 20s, and restore and repair is somebody like, products for somebody in their 30s or
Yeah.
maybe 40s, something like that.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So we're
I
now
like this.
diving into certain products. Yeah. Flagship products for cleansing. This one's won awards. And now we're finding out what the key
What those,
ingredients do.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay. I like this.
Okay.
While these are not like if I trust the brand or if I'm interested, like if I have retained interest till this slide, then these slides are good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, even if I was not that, like, I'd lost interest at some point, I am kind of curious about these slides, right? Like, these are, I'm like, oh, this is interesting.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. You know, my desire for symmetry is slightly annoyed, but it's okay. They're pretty symmetric. I mean, what are you gonna do? You have different amounts of content. Okay,
Okay.
so now we're understanding where in the world they are.
A lot of airlines.
A lot of airlines, which is very cool because I do think a lot of people try out products in airlines, right? So I think getting into those airline little
And
giveaway
this
bags
is
is really
like
nice.
amazing because it's like China, Macau, Hong Kong, British, Vietnam, Thai, Taiwan,
Yeah,
Emirates,
Harrods is,
Singapore. I assume that both Starlux and Eva Air are also Chinese.
I think so. Eva Air is, I think, out of Hong Kong.
Okay.
I'm sorry, out of Taiwan, excuse me. But yeah.
But yeah.
A pushback we have been getting, let me just see if it's on the next slide. They are kind of, okay. One of the pushbacks we've gotten from slides like this on the Tomboy X deck is to just understand a little bit more details of the partnerships. But it seems like I think we're going to be going through each one.
Okay.
This is cool. I mean, having a stand in Harrods
Yeah.
is pretty amazing.
And also just like having a photo of it really puts it in
Yeah,
context.
yeah. And it looks so good.
Yeah.
This is also cool. Okay, so
This
we're seeing,
photography is so much better.
yeah, this is, so we're seeing it in the thing, and we're also seeing someone having a treatment with their products. Why do you say this
Okay.
photography is so much better, out of curiosity, versus the Harrods one? Just because it's like lighting?
So the lighting is a lot better. And if you just see it, like the product feels a lot more desirable.
Really?
If you compare it to this, like this is just like overblown light. And it's just like, okay, it's something. I'm just
Yeah.
like if I just compare it to just the organization and the arrangement, like it just looks more interesting, at least to me.
Mm, I could see that. Yeah.
Right? Like this has less department store vibes and more upscale vibes.
Yeah, I that's what I was thinking. Like I feel like Harrods is a very traditional department store and you kind of can feel that in this, you know? Like that they would do this kind of arrangement and have the thing, right? Like I feel traditional department stores they give you this feeling of plenty, you know? And I think now we've kind of gone to this feeling of like there's an idea that you need space also to like see the
Yeah.
products and appreciate them. Okay. Let's so also on their website. Wow, that is a big space to have mall in Singapore. Right, and I guess it feels like we're being asked to kind of like look through these quickly, right? It's not like we're being asked to do them in detail.
Yeah.
I kind of wish I had known a little bit about any of those airline partnerships, but okay.
Maybe they have it afterwards.
Okay.
Like, okay, this is like spa partnerships. So we saw retail stores and now we are seeing spa partnerships. Makes sense.
Yeah. I think it's cool that they have someone that is an expert enough to be on this. I mean, I kind of feel like I just trust that she's an expert. I suppose I could look her up and see.
Hmm.
Let's see.
No, that's
No,
Victoria
that's,
Beckham, not.
yeah, goodness. Really? No. So at least she's not a big enough person that Siri immediately knows who she is. But whatever. Okay, fine. Okay, you were right. They are talking about what the airline partnerships is. So this is not in their business class like baggies. This is sounds like it's for sale by Singapore.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay. This seems like
So
the
they
next
just have,
year's plan, or like, this year and next year's plan.
yeah. So basically they've launched in the UK.
And in
Europe is
Singapore.
2026, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they've launched in Singapore and now they're launching in the US, UAE, Qatar, Vietnam, and
India.
India.
Yeah.
And then Europe, South America, Canada, and Australia are coming. Okay.
Okay.
Another little typo there. Okay.
This is their PR.
Yeah.
This
Again, a
is
volume feeling versus like a specific anything standing out. Just a choice.
okay.
I'm surprised that they wouldn't. I don't know. I feel like Vogue is such a big one that you might like give a little bit more. Okay. And then this is whose social media? This is their social media.
Hmm. which I feel,
It's
what
questionable
is
to me.
what is this slide for? It's not like there is a lot of cool. I mean, like if they were showcasing what is the story on this?
Yeah, I don't like the latest in digital marketing is not paid search and advertising on Meta and Google. That is like the oldest in digital marketing, right? Like the latest in digital marketing is much more stuff like thinking about innovative influencer partnerships. It's like using the new product searches in like Chat GPT or in TikTok. Yeah, this feels like, oh, you guys know how to run some email campaigns, kind of. And then I'm glad you have a nice social Instagram grid. And then I assume these are influencers, but because they're not
Yeah,
clearly articulated, it's not
I
clear
think
what
it
that's
might.
about.
Even if they wanted to say that, like, this is a brand of the, what is interesting? I don't know who the audience is. We
Yeah,
are
we're
on
almost
page
there,
36.
and that's it, right?
Yeah. We're on page 36. Page 37 is new product launches, and I have no idea who is your target audience.
You're saying for the deck, or you're saying for the
Like,
products?
I don't know. Both.
What's
And
going
maybe
on
it's
over here?
okay.
Weird.
Uh, maybe that's
It's just some artifact. Like there was something that somebody I think pasted or something that didn't. I don't know.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like this is really petty and weird, but I find it so interesting that like the names are uneven, but the women's names are below.
Oh yeah, you're right. That is weird.
Like, so I feel like a lot of the alignment and stuff is a bit unintentional in the deck. I feel questionably about it. But like core story wise, I feel like I don't understand who the products are targeting. Are they for young people? Are they for old people? Are they for like rich people, poor people? I don't know. Like maybe the fact that like you're partnering with Harrods and all of that, that gives an idea that it is more upscale. Or
Yeah.
there's some place where you could see the price points. Yeah, here you can see the
Yeah.
price points. So you're like, okay, it's a
This is
$135 serum. It's not a cheap, like,
yeah.
product. But I don't know. I'm not particularly sure about like anything else.
I think here was the most kind of distinguishing we got about who the
Hmm.
audience for these products were, right? Like it felt like this was somewhat earlier and this was somewhat like kind of later, more mature skin. I do agree though. It's more of the strategy of we're going to present a lot of information and you're going to make a decision about who this is right for or if it's right for you.
But I feel like, so, there's that concept of cognitive maps.
Hmm.
Sometimes information is not presented in a way that you can fit it in your cognitive map. And that's what I feel here. Like there is a lot. Clearly, they have substance. Clearly, they have done their work. Clearly, they have thought about a lot of different things. But I just feel like there is a lack of earnestness, which is not there in their branding or in their opening or clearly in their product, right? Like the product
Hmm.
feels very genuinely thought through.
Yeah, really interesting. I feel like it's really missing a snapshot of the consumer somewhere around here, right? And it's talking, and that would just ground us in why do we care about these things, right? Like, what is the consumer caring about when you're saying nature and
Hmm.
science are intersecting in Ayurveda? And what does this intersection look like? Because it's not like you're going to be the only product that this type of consumer you're describing is buying. There's other products they're buying for their other needs because you're just doing skincare, right? Like if we're saying that this is an intersection that's occurring as a macro trend across the world, which is what it seems like the contention is, then it's like, well, what other signs do we need? And maybe if gua sha is a key part of it, like maybe we can use that as a little highlight, right? Like gua sha usages have been rising, interest in Ayurveda has been rising among these kinds of groups. And those are the people we're appealing to, the ones who are going to wellness retreats, the ones who are traveling to
Hmm.
these stores.
And I think that like a more holistic understanding of what does it mean for somebody to care about nature or Ayurveda, right? Like they casually mention rooted in yoga somewhere. What does that mean for
I
something
think
to
it's
be
the
rooted
facial
in?
yoga is
I
what
get
they're
it. I get it.
yeah.
But like that's not what most people would think. I get it on
It's
the
really early.
best, yeah, influenced by yoga. I get it for the best case interpretation. but most of the times your user or like a potential customer is not going to do best case interpretation. So that's how, I don't know, that's how I feel about it. Like this is probably the informationally most cohesive deck we have yet. We can't really fault them on the information apart from the customer thing. Um, like clarity of narrative thread is missing, at least for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting point you said about like the branding being there, but this kind of this next level down from it, like the communication feeling not quite as put together. Yeah. It's an interesting deck. I think I feel like you're saying, like I think the components are there, but we need to stitch together the narrative a little more. And to me, I think the narrative flows either from the consumer
Hmm.
or the story of like the brand and the product more, right? Like how did we decide to make this? What was the kind of personal story that led us into these
Hmm.
choices? But some story to kind of like just give a humanizing element of like why these components. And then I think also I would think a little bit about like what's the product that people buy first? Do they jump in head first into the whole line, or is there kind of a product that we expect them to buy first, like a hero product, if you will? And then that's the one that people take, then they go forward and are introduced to the rest of the line.
And actually, even some more of that information, like some customer interaction kind of stuff, like how are
Mm,
people receiving your product? Because it's great to see, like, that could be another, or rather, that could be another angle from which you could show customer understanding. So you might not have personas and you might not have, oh, here is Rashmi, she is 36 years old and she has two children and blah, blah, blah. Like you might not want to say it like that, but you can say it from like, oh, these are the kind of products that appeal to this age. Our products are gifted to people or our products are like, picked up like this, or this is our hero line from first set, this is our hero line from second set, stuff like that. That would be quite interesting.
yeah, like one way I've seen some people present information like that is that you would have like maybe like a consumer, and then you would show that they have different facets. So maybe you would have like two or three different consumers. So one is like an 18 to 35-year-old woman fra with certain characteristics, and you kind of like sketch out a couple of different, and then you show that for her morning activities or for her cleansing or for her moisturizing or for her facial concerns, like how you today you have products for part of the spectrum of what she would require, and then in the future you're going to roll out products for more, but you're kind of showing how there's a set of needs that are consistent across different demographics, and today that we have products that support these needs for these groups, but we're going to
Hmm.
expand to other groups with for their similar needs, and we're going to expand the set of needs that we support for our core groups as well. But I can
Like I
also give some
do
grounding
not,
for these kinds of new products.
yeah, like I do not get the treatments for perimenopause and menopause. Like I don't know why that is there. Like I get cleansing and hydration and sun protection, those feel natural. But this is an aspirational new category. Nobody creates things for menopausal and perimenopausal women. So if you're
Mm,
creating it, there has to be a really strong like story behind it. I'm sure that you have done like research and you have an understanding of why these specific things,
yeah.
right?
And it's also interesting, I didn't kind of miss this, but this and this, well, so these are us branching into body products, and then this is a hair product. So there's quite a lot of expansion being detailed in this that wasn't like from a consumer's point of view, right? Like you're saying that a consumer was thinking about me for one thing today and they're going to be thinking about me for much more things in the future. I don't think consumers, no, it's not like, oh, this is my cleansing brand for my face, my body, and my hair, right? It's much more like this is my facial brand, and then this is my hair brand, and then this is my body. So I think that
Yeah.
this structuring is not so consumer focused, and I think a more consumer focused structuring might be a little bit more effective.
I also just, I honestly like hate hammering on that point, but like I really feel like it would be much nicer if they showed why they care about these things and why
Yeah.
they care about these people. Like, I don't get a sense of like, there's a lot of information, but like, you don't get that emotional affect enough.
Interesting. Well, this is one I feel like I'd love to take another look at if they do end up making changes, because I'm just very curious about how this product evolves and the story evolves, really. Like, I think the product is very solid.
Yeah, 100%. Like I feel like, yeah, I feel both fortunate and a little bit like we have come across a lot of people who have excellent product, but they could really like, improve their communication.
Maybe we should think about taking one of them because one of the things we do is storytelling, and I wonder if maybe something we could think about in a future episode is thinking about how we would retell the story of some of these. We could talk to the person. I don't really want to, it's very sweet that people share with us their things. I don't know if we want to set them up like that, but it could be an interesting idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think I would really love that too. Awesome. This is fun though. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.